now that we've gathered all of our data and Julia's provided us with what a 24-hour schedule looks like, we are ready to move to our fourth worksheet, our weekly planner. And there are several things that we're going to need to consider when putting together this final worksheet. The first being that not every day is going to look nor needs to look exactly the same. For example, during one wake time period, many days of the week might just be mommy and child time, whereas some days you may decide to have a playmate over. The concept of flexibility needs to remain even within your weekly plan.
It makes sense to plan outings during our toddlers' wake times. A little organisation in this area can help to avoid dragging a hungry toddler around the shops or expecting a tired toddler to sit quietly while we wait in line at the bank. We need to be realistic about our expectations. Planning our day helps us to get through all the things we need to do and allows our toddlers to get their much needed rest.
And another thing you can do is invite your child to participate in your daily activities, keeping them age appropriate, of course. For example, Anna will help me sort the laundry. When it's time to fold the laundry, I'll give her a towel or two and she'll practice her folding skills. When we're picking up toys, Anna's required to pick up a few toys and put them neatly in a basket. Toddlers love to be with mommy and they love to imitate. Take advantage of that and use that educational opportunity to teach them skills they're going to need down the road.
And another point to consider is the schedule that you establish today is not going to look the same 3 months, 6 months, or even a year from now. Why? Because your toddler is developing. His needs are becoming greater, and so you need to adapt for that in your schedule. Plus, some of you may be expecting another baby in your home, and that dramatically changes your routine. But the things that remain constant is there will still be feeding time, there'll still be that wake time, and there'll still be sleep time to deal with. The key, as always, is to remember flexibility.
Keeping our schedule flexible helps us to make changes when unexpected things happen in our day, and it also helps us to avoid becoming legalistic. I remember one day when our first baby was very young and my auntie came for a visit. She arrived about 10 minutes before he was due for a feed, and as she walked in the door, he woke up from his nap. Now, it was obvious to me that he was hungry, and I knew that you should always feed a hungry baby. But I was working really hard at getting him into a regular routine. I cringe now as I remember my auntie asking me, isn't he hungry? Shouldn't you be feeding him? And I said, well, yes, but he's not due for a feed for another 10 minutes. Now, I'm not really a very legalistic person, but I was working so hard to stick to that schedule and to get him onto a good routine that I actually made the schedule more important than my common sense. We need to remember that the routine is there to serve us. We're not there to serve the routine. It's designed to help us plan our day, but not to create more stress in our lives.
In your daily routine, there will be activities that your child may not enjoy doing at that time. For example, blanket time, or some of the sitting and focusing, concentrating skills that you'll have them do. But you need to persevere. Remember that there's a greater purpose behind these training opportunities.
Another benefit of having a flexible routine is that it provides us with lots of opportunities in our day to train our toddlers in times of non-conflict. For example, we have our toddlers in the high chair at least 3 times a day. So why not use that opportunity to teach them skills they're going to need at other times in their week? I'm sure most mums can relate to trying to keep a toddler sitting happily in the trolley or shopping cart while we race around and try and get the groceries done in record-breaking time. But what I realised was that I was expecting my toddler to sit for that long, but never actually giving them the chance to practice that skill at any other time during the week. That's where we have the opportunity 3 times a day in the high chair to actually teach them how to do it. What I would do is sit them up in the high chair and give them their meal, and then when they'd finished, I'd just give them a small book to look at or a toy to play with. Initially, I'd just get them to stay there for an extra 5 minutes or so, and then I'd slowly build up the time until they were able to sit for quite a long period. Then when I needed them to sit still in the trolley for the shopping, they were a lot less likely to spend the whole time whining and complaining, and suddenly shopping was a lot less stressful. There are many more opportunities like this that we can plan into a flexible schedule during our day with a toddler.
Another thing that is tremendously helpful is to make copies of your kids' schedule and routine. That includes lists of activities that your toddler and other children can participate in during the day. Make sure these copies are available for your babysitter or whoever else might be watching your children. I remember one weekend when my mom and dad were watching the kids so that Rich and I could go to a conference. The first day I forgot to include the schedule, and by the end of the day my parents were exhausted. The second day I remembered to include it, and it made all the difference. The kids were much happier, and so were mom and dad.
And one additional point we want to leave with you, and that is as you live out your daily and weekly routine, there will be stresses that will be revealed to you during the day. I know for myself, I often found it occurred during the dinner hour or when I was in a rush to get everyone together and out of the house in a timely manner. But that is not the time to abandon the routine. Rather, it's a time for greater consistency. Remember, it's going to be structure and routine in your day that helps to alleviate those additional stresses.
We hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to see more, and check out the growingfamilies.life website to find more resources and to get connected.